Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Chris, and today we're going to make something that you guys have been asking me to make for over a year now. I'm going to finally make my sourdough bread.
Cooking with the vegan zombie.
Alright, there's a lot of different recipes out there for sourdough bread. There's a lot of different techniques that people do. I'm just going to show you what works for me. Kind of just learn trial and error over the last year and a half now. So it's really simple, and if you followed my last sourdough video for the starter, which I posted about a week ago, then you should be ready to go or nearly ready to go. And if you haven't yet, go check that video out because you're going to need a sourdough starter before we make this recipe. You're also going to want a nice scale because this is an exact science of baking. Alright, I got my units put on grams, and I have a large bowl that I can mix with. Put that on there and just bring it back to 0. And we're going to start out with the starter. So this is the starter. It's always best to use it 4 or 5 hours after you feed it. So I did that earlier today, and it's nice and bubbly. You can see that. And we're going to use 1/4 cup of that. Boom, right there. Get that all in there. Okay, and again, you got to use a bottled water or a distilled water that is not chlorinated and no fluoride in it, because the chlorine will destroy your starter and the bacteria in it. So this is all the bacteria that it grabs from the air, and you make a starter. So this is essentially our yeast. We're not going to put any extra added yeast in here. This is going to be our yeast. Again, I'm going to turn that back to 0, and I'm going to put 46 grams, or try to put exactly 46 grams of water in there, and that's exactly 46 grams. And then you can either stir that up. I like to do this with it. Just get that all mixed in together like that. Let that water break that down. Okay. I have bread flour. This is just a finer flour here, and you can use an all-purpose flour. You can use whole wheat. You can mix it up, different ratios, half and half. If you're going to do that, I use 646 grams of flour. So if you break that down in half and half, it's 323 grams each. But today I'm going to use all bread flour instead of mixing it half and half, and I'm going to put in 646 grams. Keep going. We're at 620. Oops, we're at 652. 649. 646 right there. And you can either put the salt in after or now. I've done both. I've seen people do it after the dough is already. I forgot to put it in a few times, and you really want that salt in there to give it a little more flavor, because that's all the ingredients we have is flour, water, and salt. I use 1 heaping teaspoon of salt. And you can adjust that if you want more salt in yours, if you want less salt in yours, and then just kind of, mix that in. It's all going to get incorporated anyway. So we are at, sure that's at 0, 369 grams of water, which is almost a bottle. All right, that is what we need. Now you can get fancy with yours and add like dried cranberries, pecans, walnuts, whatever. We're just making a simple bread right now. I recommend using a wooden spoon or a plastic, one of these, and I use this end of it for less surface area, so you get all of it into the dough. And I just go ahead and stir it around, mix it up, and this should be exactly what you need, but it should be a little bit wetter than like a pizza dough. Also, I have one of these scrapers which came with my bread bowl thing, which they're pretty cheap. I'll link it below. I found mine on Amazon. And this is great for what you're doing here, what we're going to be doing, and what you could potentially be doing every single day. You could make more bread and, you know, never run out of that starter. So now we're just going to form this into a dough ball and make sure it's got enough water in it. Because again, you want it to be a little bit wetter than a pizza dough. Keep doing this for a while because that's what we're gonna do. Now, you can use a mixer or whatever. You gotta really get this. See, it's sticky. If I put my hands on it too long, it sticks to it. So this is perfect right now. What I like to do, just to get everything settled in, is I put it in the little bowl. We're gonna put a towel over it, and I'm just gonna let that kind of settle in there like that for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna work it. So I'll be back in 10 minutes. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. Let's take that dough out. Okay, now we gotta work the dough. There's all kinds of different methods to do this. You can smash it down like this, and then basically we are going to knead it. We need to get that gluten activated, and we need to work it for a while. We wanna be able to do this until it passes what they call the window pane test, which is when you pick it up and you stretch it, it shouldn't break apart like that. It should be almost able to see through a little bit. So we're gonna get to that stage. And if you have a mixer, this is the time to put it in that mixer and mix it up. But if you're trying to get a nice little workout for your arms and your wrists, do this. You don't want to put flour down unless it's way, way too wet. Then you can add a little bit of flour, but for the most part, you just don't want to add the extra flour. You want it to be sticky. Even if it's a little bit stickier than that, that's okay. The key is to have a good starter. Make sure your starter is all nice and bubbly before you go to try to use it. And that's when you know that your starter is done. It'll be all bubbly and it'll rise a little bit. This is kind of an all-day process because after this, we have to let it sit for a while. It seems like a lot of work, but you're gonna have a nice bread, nice, unique sourdough bread. I don't have a mixer. You actually wanna do this for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's starting to look more like a dough than it did at the beginning. Let's see how that's looking so far. It's getting better, it's getting better. Oh, look at that. Almost. If you don't do this, your bread could come out really dense. All you need is flour, water, salt, and a pair of hands. There we go. Stretches, it's not breaking. That's what we're looking for. So, now, form it into a ball. Form it into a nice ball like this. I grab that same bowl. You don't want to put any flour or any oil in there like you would with like pizza dough. You just want to set that in there. And just like that, we're going to put that towel back over it. And then we're going to set it aside for a couple hours. Let that starter build up in there and it'll eventually expand. And then we're going to come back in a little while. Okay, now we're going to come back and we're going to take that dough and we're going to shape it. Okay, so we want there to be surface tension here. So we're just going to keep folding it like this, over, so the other side is tight, nice and tight, because if you just kind of roll it into a ball, it's probably going to be flat. We don't want a flat bread. And then I like to pinch it like that, and then this side is nice and tight, like that. Now, I have this bowl. I will link this below. You can purchase one of these on Amazon. They're not that expensive, and it comes with the cloth that goes in it, and it also comes with a little scorer, which is just a razor blade on a little handle. What I'm gonna do, and this is up to you, you can just put a little bit of flour in there, but for some reason I've tried the white rice flour, which is Bob's Red Mill. It's very fine. Now you can put it right in there without any cloth in it, and it's got that nice little circular design on top, and I do it like that most of the time, but for this video I'm gonna put the cloth in there. This isn't the one that came with it, but if you have a nice fine cloth like this one right here, that should work. So I put that in there, and I'm going to put some of this flour in there. You can use whatever flour you want. I found that this white rice flour, which is a very fine flour, works really well, so I try to use that. If I don't have it, no big deal, I'll use other flour. Okay, so now we have this formed into a ball here, and then I'm going to put this in upside down like that, and I'm going to sprinkle some flour over the side so it doesn't stick when it starts to rise, just like that. And then we're just going to do that, and we're going to let this sit for a couple hours, and we'll be back. Alright, so now it's been a couple hours. I have my oven preheated to 550 degrees. You're going to want it to get really hot in there. I have a cast iron, which I'm cooking this in, a cast iron skillet. You can do it in a Dutch oven. I have my cast iron right in the oven, heating up right now. The dough is ready. So what we're gonna do is, I also have a pot of water boiling right now. Boiling water. The pot of water does not have any kind of plastic or rubber handle. It's all metal. That is gonna go in the oven as well. It's gonna give a steam. It's gonna go into the oven, and it's gonna give the bread a nice crispy crust. And so that's important too. So you're gonna wanna do something like that, or like a tray of water or something. Okay, so that's real hot. It's been sitting in that 550 degree oven. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip that over, put that in there just like that. At this point you can use a really sharp knife or a razor blade. When you buy one of these online, it comes with like a razor score with a handle and everything. So I'm just gonna put like a little X in it right like that. That's all I'm doing. And now we're gonna put it in the oven. Okay, that goes like that. And this is gonna go right under it. Just like that. All right, and now I'm gonna leave it in there for 35 to 40 minutes. First, very important, is we gotta turn that 550 all the way down to 450. 35 to 40 minutes, and then we're gonna check it. I like my crust to be nice and golden, and that's what we're gonna do. So I'll see you guys soon. Okay, so it's been 35 minutes. I've turned the oven off, and you can either open it a little bit, or I like to just keep it closed because I like mine a little bit darker. It is done, but I want it to brown up a little bit more as the oven is cooling off. So it's cooled off now for about 10-20 minutes. I'm gonna take it out. There you go, that's what it looks like. Look at that score on the top. Look how nice and crispy it is. You can hear that. It's got a nice crisp to it. This is what you want it to sound like. Like that. It's hot, but it's not, you know, it's not like I can't pick it up, but it is warm, very warm. I'm happy with it. I would say that I probably made some that look a little bit better than this. I would say this isn't perfect, but it's a nice sourdough. And we're gonna let it cool off. I don't really have a rack for it to cool off on, so I have a makeshift one with this old dish tray and this pizza screen. So I'm just gonna put it over here like that, and we're gonna let it cool off for about an hour before you cut into it. And I think the first time I made one of these, I told myself, all right, I have to let it sit for an hour before I cut into it. And I sat there and I waited about 5 minutes. I'm like, well, this is about long enough, and I cut into it. And I mean, it's still good, but you know, for the best bread, you're probably gonna want to let it sit for an hour. Otherwise, it can change the inside of it a little bit. So we're gonna let it sit and cool off. Looks amazing. It's been about an hour, and we're gonna cut into it. We'll go right here. All right, so the inside looks really nice and fluffy, and the outside is nice and crispy. Let's try a piece. What do you say? It's still nice and warm. I probably could have let it cool a little bit more, but it's really good. It's got a nice taste to it. Every sourdough tastes a little bit different. Don't just take my word for it. Yo, you remember this guy?
Hey!
Want to try a piece of bread?
Yeah. This is vegan zombie made bread.
Sourdough.
All right, here we go.
That's really good. Yeah.
Crunchy on the outside, fluffy on the inside.
Exactly. It takes a while to make this. Obviously, we started last night, we ended today, but you can have one going while the other one's already done. And you can make them whenever you want. You don't have to make them at all. You can wait a week to make them, store them in the refrigerator, and you know, just have fun with it. It came out so good. The outside is nice and crispy. The inside is nice and airy and fluffy. Really nice taste on it. You're just gonna have to make it yourself. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up if you did. It helps me out. I'm gonna try to do some more recipes with the sourdough coming up. So if you guys like it, then try it yourself. And that crust, look at that crust. Put a little butter on this, or jelly, peanut butter, tofutti cream cheese. Make a sandwich out of it. Put it in your soup, your chili. I mean, there's like 3 ingredients in this. Make it for your friends. I usually make them all the time, and if I'm gonna go somewhere, I'll just bring a loaf and give it to somebody. You can always support my channel so I can continue these videos by signing up to my Patreon, or you can get one of my beanies or my aprons or t-shirts. Also, my Be Good to Animals t-shirts are on pre-order right now. You have until January 31st to make a pre-order on one of those. The aprons and the beanies you can get anytime, but the shirts, the t-shirts with the arms like these and the little hoodies and stuff like that, they are all pre-order until January 31st. So if you want one of those, go and pick them up. The link will be below. Otherwise, stay safe, watch out for zombies. I'll see you guys next time. Came out super good. And I've been filming all night, and it's 7:30 in the morning, and I'm going to bed.